ॐ शुक्लां भरतरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्ज सम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. वागर्तापिब सम्पृक्तौ वागर्त प्रतिपत्तये जगदः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी द्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने. കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും ഇറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കനായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ Krishna Hare Jaya Krishna Hare. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so we'll just do a review of Dasakam 8. Let me see who I have today. Maybe Rati, can you do one half, and Deepa Raj, you can do the second half.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
एवं तावत् प्राकृत प्रक्षयन्ति ब्राह्मे कल्पे ह्यादिमे लब्धजन्म ब्रह्म भूयस्त्वत एवाप्यवेदान् सृष्टिं चक्रे पूर्वकल्पोपमानाम्.
Can you try with the? Can you see if you can get the tune on that, Rati? Like, evam tavat prakrita
प्रक्षयन्ते
Yeah.
ब्राह्मे कल्पे ह्यादिमे लब्धजन्म ब्रह्मा भूयस्त्वत एवाप्यवेदान् सृष्टिं चक्रे पूर्वकल्पोपमानाम्. सोऽयं चतुर्युगसहस्रमितान् यहानि तावन्मिताश्च रजनीर्बहुशो निनाय निद्रात्यसौ त्वयि निलीय समां स्वसृष्टै नैमित्तिका प्रलयम् आहृतोऽस्य रात्रिम्.
The third line, swasrishtaihi, that visarga is there, add at the end of that line.
Okay. Yeah. अस्मातृषां पुनरहर्मुख कृतातुल्यं सृष्टिं करोत्यनुदिनं स भवत्प्रसादात् प्राग्ब्रह्मकल्पाजनुषां च परायुषां तु सुप्तप्रबोधन समास्ति तदा विवृष्टि
Srishtihi, tadapi srishtihi.
तदा विसृष्टिः
The
पञ्च.
third line, prag brahma kalpa. This extra R sound there.
Okay. ब्राह्मकल्प. Okay. पञ्चाशदाब्द मधुना स्वयोपरात्रुम् एकं परात्र नृत्य वर्तते सौ तत्रान्त्यरात्रिजनितान् कथयामि भूमान् पश्चादिनावतरे न च भवत् विलासान्.
The first line, last word, swa vayordha roopam.
Okay. स्वयोत्र रूप. Okay. दीनावसानेत सरोज्ययोनिः सुषुप्तिकामास्त्वयि सन्निलेयि जगन्ति च त्वजतरां समीहु तदेहमेकार्णवमास विश्वम्.
तवैव वेशे वणिराजिशेषे जलैगशेषे भुवने स्मरेशे आनन्दसान्द्रानुभवस्वरूपः स्वयोगनिद्रा परिमुद्रितात्मा कालाख्यशक्तिं प्रलयावसाने प्रबोधयेत्यादिशताखिलदौ त्वया प्रसुप्तं परिसुप्तशक्तिर्व्यजेन जीवधाम्ना.
Fourth line, first word, brajena.
व्रजेन तत्राखिलजीवधाम्नां चतुर्युगानां च सहस्रमेवं त्वयि प्रसुप्ते पुनरद्वितीये कालाख्यशक्तिः प्रथमप्रबुद्धा प्राबोधयत्वां किल विश्वनाथ. विबुध्य च त्वं जलगर्भशायिन् विलोक्य लोकान् अखिलान् प्रलीनान् तेष्वेव सूक्ष्मात् मतया निजन्त स्थितेषु विश्वेषु ददात्थ दृष्टिं ततस्त्वदीयादयिनाभिरन्ध्रात् उदञ्चितं किञ्चन दिव्यपद्मं निलीननिशेषपदार्थमाला संक्षेपरूपं मुकुलायमानम्. तदेतदं भोरुह कुड्मलं ते कलेबरात् तोयपथे प्ररूढं बहिर्निरीतं परितस्फुरतिः स्वदामभिर्द्वान्दमलं न्यकृन्दत् सम्भुल्लपत्रे नितरां विचित्रे तस्मिन् भवत् वीर्यधृते सरोजे सपद्मजा विधिरा विरासीत् स्वयं प्रबुद्धाखिलवेदराशिः.
The third line, Deepa, sa padma janma.
पद्मजन्म. ओके. स पद्मजन्मा विधिरा विरासीत् अस्मिन् परात्मन् ननु पाद्मकल्पे त्वमित्थम् स्थापितपद्मयोनिः अनन्तभूमामरोगराशिं निरुन्धिवातालयवास विष्णो.
So that remember that last line we said Ananta Bhuma Mamaro Garashim Nirundi and then Vathalaya Vasa Vishnu.
Okay.
So that Rogarashim and Nirundi will come together there.
Okay.
Okay. So just make sure you're joining those two words. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. All right, we'll go to Dashakam 9. Jagat Srishti Prakara Varnam, continuation of the description of creation. Let me see who had today. So, Bhuvana Chitra, you can be, Bhuvana Mahesh, you can be a student, and Chintamani, you can be a student. So I think she was on. Yeah, okay. Bhuvana Mahesh and Chintamani. Yes, stanza 1.
Okay.
Stitasya kamalodbhavah तव हि नाभिपङ्के रुहे कुतस्विदिदमं बुधौ उदितमित्यनालोकयन् तदीक्षणकुतूहलात् प्रतिदिशं विवृत्ताननः चतुर्वदनतामगाद् विकसदष्टदृष्ट्यम्भुजाम्. So in the last class, we saw about the timelines, right? We saw about the various times of lifespan of Brahma and all the different worlds, and it's what is day is or what is night is and how much the entire life is. And then we said, okay, everything that is being said from now will start from is actually talking about the first day of the 51st year of Brahma, right? So 50 years have gotten over. 51st year, first day, what is going to happen? And we looked at what happened on the previous night, which was the end of the Naimittika Pralaya. And just to kind of recap of that Naimittika Pralaya, like, as an example, if you think of it as, if you think of like the forest fires, which are actually going on, right, in Canada right now. So the forest is there, it has got its mountains, the fire comes, it destroys all the plants, the trees, everything which are there. But the mountain itself, if there was a mountain which existed in the forest, that mountain continues to still exist, but there's nothing growing on it, right? So like that, similarly, but the seeds of the trees are still there under the ground. The fire doesn't wipe out the seeds under the ground, right? So later on, once the forest fire has subsided, rain starts coming, sun starts coming, and over a period of time, some new seeds are sprown into that and new trees come, but the existing trees also sometimes start to come from the bottom, right? Because they were but doesn't mean the seed was not there. So that was kind of the similar kind of trying to draw the parallel of the Naimittika Pralaya, right? So at the time of Brahma's night, everything was absorbed into Vishnu, behind the Garbhodakashai Vishnu, and then from that Vishnu, we saw that a lotus bud emerged, and I was explaining the concept of the lotus bud to say it is just a bud. Bud contains everything that is actually there, and that when it becomes a flower, which means the universe starts expanding. So on that top of that little bit of that manifest universe, Brahma was sitting, right? That's kind of how we saw, because he has that tool already available to him. So this Brahma, when he's now coming up, his first day, right? Like we said, the first day, not the first day, the next day morning he comes up, he still is curious. Now, in the subtle difference between the first day ever of Brahma and the 51st birthday, first day, in this case, Brahma knows who he is, but he's also confused a little bit, right? Saying, I just did all of these things in my previous day. Everything seems to have gone. Everything just seems to be in some random shape or destroyed shape, right? So what this Brahma is saying, I'm now sitting on this lotus, which means I'm sitting on this some level of the manifested world. And he's trying to say, where did all of this go in the previous night? And where did all of this suddenly start coming from? So he's trying to look for the source of this lotus, which is the source of where all this current creation is there. So to do that, Brahma, like I said, does not have any physical body, right? It's a spiritual being. He doesn't have a physical body like arms or anything. But the way it is explained, when we say Brahma has 4 heads, right? The way it is explained is Brahma is trying to figure out what is actually happening everywhere as to how did all these things come from? Where is the source? So when he starts looking in all directions, it says he gets the concept of 4 heads, because how do we look? We look through eyes. Where are the eyes situated? Eyes is situated in my head, in my face, right? So I have this whole structure I have where my eyes are there. So similarly, for Brahma to be able to interrogate and see where things are, he has to look in all directions, right? So with that, he essentially gets the concept of the 4 faces, 8 eyes and everything. But in reality, Brahma can take any shape he wants, right? So he then start beginning to explore, saying that where did this things go in my previous night, and where did all of these things suddenly come back up the next day morning. Stitassa kamalodbhavaha, that is goes away, visarga comma, kamalodbhavaha, tava hi nabhi pankeruhe, comma, kutaha, putta is kutas svididam, break at that im, svididam ambudhau. So we're going to make for those who know Sanskrit, we're going to make a sandhi split there. If you have ambudha buditam, if you have that V sound there, we're going to break it as ambudhau. The vu sound that you have there is going to go away. It will become svididam ambudhau, comma. Next word will start with the u. Uditam ityanalokayan. Okay, so kutas svididam ambudhau, comma. Uditam ityanalokayan. Stitassa kamalodbhavah tava hinabhipanke ruhe kutasvididamam budhau uditamityanaalokayan.
स्थितस्य कमलोद्भवः तव हि नाभिपङ्केरुहे कुतस्विदिदम् अम्बुधौ उदितमित्यनालोकयन् स्थितस्य कमलोद्भवः तव हि नाभिपङ्केरुहे कुतस्विदिदम् अम्बुधौ उदितमित्यनालोकयन्
स्थितितस्तः कमलोद्भवस्तव हि नाभिपङ्केरुहे कुतस्विदिदम् अम्बुधौ उदितम् इत्यनालोकयन्.
The first word, stithassa.
Stithassa.
Sa.
Stithassa.
Yeah, correct.
Stithassa कमलोद्भवस्तव हि नाभिपङ्केरुहे कुतस्विदिदम् अम्बुधौ उदितम् इत्यनालोकयन्.
That first line, kamalodbhavas, that is there, that's we removed it and put a visarga, kamalodbhavaha there, okay, in the first line.
Kamalodbhavaha.
Tadikshana kutuhalat, comma, prati disham vivrittananaha, again a visarga and comma, end of that line, vivrittananaha. If you have a ish in the next line, first that goes away. Chatur Vadanatamagat. So if you have a dvi, we're just breaking it. Chatur Vadanatamagat it, comma. Vikasadashta Drishtyam Bujam. Tadikshana Kutuhalat Pratidisham Vivrittananaha Chatur Vadanatamagat Vikasadashta Drishtyam Bujam.
तदीक्षणकुतूहलात् प्रतिदिशं विवृत्ताननः चतुर्वदनतामगात् विकसदृष्टदृष्ट्यं भुजाम्
Vikasadashta. And that four. Vikasadashta.
विकसदष्टदृष्ट्यं भुजाम् तदीक्षणकुतूहलात् प्रतिदिशं विवृत्ताननः चतुर्वदनतामगात् विकसदष्टदृष्ट्यं भुजाम्.
तदीक्षणकुतूहलात् प्रतिदिशं विवृत्ताननः चतुर्वदनतामगात् विकसदष्टदृष्ट्यं भुजाम्. तदीक्षणकुतूहलात् प्रतिदिशं विवृत्ताननः चतुर्वदनतामगात् विगतदष्टदृष्ट्यं भुजाम्. विगतदष्टदृष्ट्यं भुजाम्.
Answer to Maharnavabhighurnitam Kamalameva Tatkevalam Vilokya Tadupashrayam Tavatanum Tunalokayen Ka Esha Kamalodare Mahati Nissahayo Hyaham Kutasvididamam Bujam Samajaniti Chintamagate. So as he's sitting there again, like confused a little bit, like I said, difference is in this case, he knows who he is, right? He knows that I am the person who is supposed to create. As that is my duty. So he's not confused about the primary purpose, but he's confused about where did all of this go and where did all of these things come from? Because he didn't realize that this is all gone into Mahavishnu and come back up again. So what Brahma does is he says he realizes things practically. Everything must have a source. Everything must have some place from where it has come from. So he naturally wanted to find because he's inquisitive about it because nobody else is there right now. So what he does is he uses his intelligence first because he's still there because he has the Brahma as a person is still there because the previous night he went to sleep, he's woken up now. So he's using his intelligence to say, I'm going to introspect because when we know, when we are trying to find something, right, we go and think about it. Let me just sit and think where something actually happened. That's what Brahma is doing. He's using his intelligence to find out the truth. But he finds that his intellect alone cannot, figure out how this creation is happening here. So when he's doing it, he wonders, okay, how did all this happen? And somebody must have created this, somebody must have destroyed this, and he's helpless. So he's again like very similar to the first day, but in this case, a little bit more advanced. So when we try to, if I tell you all, go remember the time when you were born. So what you would do, you would sit and keep tracing back in your mind. You will go up to a particular point, but you cannot get to the source. That's what is going to happen here, right? He's beginning to think of how all this has happened, but he's not able to get to the answer. Maharnava Vighurnitam, Kamalameva Tat Kevalam, put a plus below Kya. So he's only saying Tat Kevalam. He's only seeing him. There's nobody else who is in existence at that point. So put a plus there, comma after below Kya. Kamalameva Tat Kevalam below Kya, Tadupashrayam Tava Tanumtu Nalokayan. Maharnava-vighurnitam Kamalameva Tatkevalam Vilokya Tadupashrayam Tavatanum Tunalokayan.
महार्णवविघूर्णितं कमलमेव तत्केवलं विलोक्य तदुपाश्रयं तव तनुं तु नालोकयन् महार्णवविघूर्णितं कमलमेव तत्केवलं विलोक्य तदुपाश्रयं तव तनुं तु नालोकयन्
महार्णवविकूर्णिदं कमलदेव तत्केवलं विलोक्य तदुपाश्रयं तव धनुं तु नालोकयन् महार्णवीकूर्णिदं कमलमेव तत्केवलं विलोक्य तदुपाश्रयं तव तनुं तु नालोकयन्
Ka esha kamalodare mahati, nissahayo hyaham, kutaha, put a is to join, kutas svididam ambujam, samajaniti chintamagath. Ka esha kamalodare mahati, nissahayo hyaham, kutasvididam ambujam, Samajaniti Chintamagath.
क एष कमलोदरे महति निस्सहायो ह्यहं कुतस्विविधम् अम्बुजं समजनीति चिन्तामगात् क एष कमलोदरे महति निस्सहायो ह्यहं कुतस्विविधम् अम्बुजं समजनीति चिन्तामगात्
स एष कमलोदरे महति निस्सहायो ह्यहं कुतस्विदिदम् अम्बुजं समनीति चिन्तामगात्.
Last line, Samajaniti Chintamagath.
समजनीति चिन्तामगात्. Samajaniti Chintamagath. Is it right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a cha sound, Chintamagath. Okay.
Chintamagath. Ka esha kamalotare mahati निस्सहायो ह्यहं कुतस्विदिदम् अम्बुजं समजनिधि चिन्ता चिन्तामहात्
That's the thing. Amushya hi saroruhah kimapi karanam sambhavet iti smakrita nishchayah sakalunala randhadvana swayoga bala vidyaya samavarudhavan praudhadihi twadiyamati mohanam natu kalebaram drishtavan. So now again, some of these things, the way Brahma goes to find the source is explained in a way we can understand, right? So I'm going to draw the way it is explained and what it means, right? So you imagine him sitting on a lotus, which we said is the world which is actually manifesting the various universes which are coming. The lotus always has a stem. That stem is what is actually connecting. The lotus is above the water, right? The stem of the lotus goes all the way under the water and is connected to something at the bottom. It is coming from somewhere, which means that the physical world that you are actually seeing with all the universe is all connected to the spiritual world, which is the bottom, which, like we said, that Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is there, from whom everything has come in this universe. So Brahma is saying, I am going to go and try to figure out what the source is. So what that means is, he says he's going through the stem of the lotus, right? Because he's sitting on the top, he's going through the stem. But really, you can sit back and say that if you are questioning yourself, saying, who am I? How did I come about? So what would you do? You would sit and then you would think. You'll start tracing back to your childhood. You will have some memories of your first year, second year, so on. But you will never be able to get to the point that you are actually getting born. You will never get that memory, right? Similarly, Brahma is using his intellect to go and try to find the source of how he actually came about. And he's spending all his time trying to do that, but no matter how much time he's doing, he's still not able to get to the root. He's still not able to get to the source from where all this thing has come from where he has actually come from. So what this is telling is, you can use your intellect. Even Brahma himself can use his intellect how much ever he wants. But unless Bhagavan decides that you need to have the right knowledge, you will not be able to get to the source of it, right? And again, Brahma, I'm using the word he very loosely. He's genderless, but I'm just saying it's easy to explain. So he's continuing to meditate more and more and more, and he's still not able to get, because he's trying to use his intellect to get to the answer. Amushya hi saroruhaha, comma, kimapi karanam sambhavet. Put a it at the end of that line and comma, sambhavet. Next time, if you have diti, that becomes iti. Iti sma krita nishchayah. Is goes away, visarga comma nishchayah. Sa khalu nala randhradvana. So he's again using his intellect. So he's saying there must be some kimapi karanam. There should be some reason why all these things is existing and why all these things went away, right? So he's trying to get to the source of that. Amushya hi saroruhah kimapi karanam sambhavet iti smakrita nishchayah sakhalu nala randhradvana.
अमुष्य हि सरोरुहः किमपि कारणं सम्भवेत् इति स्म कृतनिश्चयः स खलु नालरन्ध्राध्वना अमुष्य हि सरोरुहः किमपि कारणं सम्भवेत् इति स्म कृतनिश्चयः स खलु नालरन्ध्राध्वना
अमुष्य हि सरोरुहः किमपि कारणं सम्भवेत् इति समकृतनिश्चयः स खलु नालरन्ध्रात्वना.
Second line, iti sma, S-M-A, sma.
इति स्म
Yeah.
इति स्म कृतनिश्चयः अमुष्य हि सरोरुहः किमपि कारणं सम्भवेत् इति स्म कृतनिश्चयः स खलु नालरन्ध्रात्वना.
Swa yoga bala vidyaya, comma, samavarudhavan praudhadhihi. Put a visarga, comma, praudhadhihi, comma. Next line, if you have a is, that goes away. Twadiyamati mohanam, comma, na tu kalebaram drishtavan. Swayogabalavidyaya samavaruಢवान् प्रौढधीः त्वदीयमतिमोहनं न तु कलेबरं दृष्टवान्.
स्वयोगबलविद्यया समवरूढवान् प्रौढधीः त्वदीयमतिमोहनम् न तु कलेबरं दृष्टवान् स्वयोगबलविद्यया समवरूढवान् प्रौढधीः त्वदीयमतिमोहनम् न तु कलेबरं दृष्टवान्
स्वयोगफलविद्यया समवरूढवान् प्रौढधीः त्वदीयमतिमोहनं तनु कलेबरं दृष्टवान्.
A third line, last word, praudhadhihi.
प्रौढधीः स्वयोगफलविद्यया समवरूढवान् प्रौढधीः त्वदीयमतिमोहनं तनु कलेबरं दृष्टवान्.
Last line, na tu kalebaram.
न तु कलेबरं दृष्टवान्. न तु कलेबरं दृष्टवान्.
That's full. ततः सकलनालिका विवरमार्गगो मार्गयन् प्रयस्य शतवत्सरं किमपि नैव सन्दृष्टवान्. निवृत्य कमलोदरे सुखनिषण्ण एकाग्रधीः समाधिबलमाधदे भवदनुग्रहैकाग्रही. So he's continuing to, like I said, you have to draw the parallel of him trying to go through the stem, which is really him sitting and trying to contemplate. So he spends a lot of time, right, trying to figure out who am I, where did I come from, where did all of these things come from, but he's not able to get it. And at some point, the time keeps going, right? So it is like, you are trying to go continuously trying to search for something, you're not getting to the root. Then you suddenly start getting worried because time is passing by and you're still not getting the answer. So Brahma is also having the same worry. He's saying, I cannot keep searching like this forever. Time is not going to stop. So he's getting worried. I have to get to the answer, but I'm not. And so what he does is, this approach is going to be a wasted approach of me trying to use my intellect to be able to find this out is going to be a wasted approach, because the person or whoever has created all of these things is so much more beyond who I am that I cannot understand that person, right? See, Brahma comes to the realization, which is extremely important. So, we cannot use our logic or intellect to say, how did the whole world come? We can't even understand how a simple current or is passing through. We cannot even explain in specific detail, right? We can't even explain some basic things, but then we try to explain how the whole world comes around. It's impossible for our brains to comprehend. So the greatest of rishis who were able to do that, how did they do? They did not go out to explore. They sat and they meditated, and then they got that jnanam in them when they meditated. So Brahma is the first person to do that. So he's saying, I cannot use my intellect to go figure out what is actually happening in this case. It is impossible because it's beyond me, right? So then he says, okay, I'm going to come back, which means I'm going to stop that approach. And then I am going to meditate. I'm going to look inwards, right? So he says, I'm not going to, explicitly start looking through my intellect. I'm going to just sit. And he remembers Bhagavan. That's the difference between the first day and then 51st year. First there, he didn't know, and he heard the word tapa, tapa. He didn't know what that was. Here, he already knows what needs to be done. So he says, I'm going to meditate here, and then I'm going to look inward and see if I can actually get the answer of all this. So the true knowledge will always come from inside and with the blessings of Bhagavan. So that's what he's doing. He's now going to contemplate on it, but through meditation. So tataha, put a is, tatas sakala nalika vivara margago margayanne, comma, prayasya shata vatsaram, comma, kimapi naiva sandrishtavan. ततः सकलनालिका विवरमार्गगो मार्गयन् प्रयस्य शतवत्सरं किमपि नैव सन्दृष्टवान्.
ततः सकलनालिका विवरमार्गगोमार्गयन् प्रयस्य शतवत्सरं किमपि नैव सन्दृष्टवान् ततः सकलनालिका विवरमार्गगोमार्गयन् प्रयस्य शतवत्सरं किमपि नैव सन्दृष्टवान्
ततः सकलनालिका विवरमार्गगो मार्गयन् प्रयस्य सदवस्तरं किमपि नैव सन्दृष्टवान् ततः सकलनालिका विवरमार्गगो मार्गयन् प्रयस्य सदवस्तरं किमपि नैव सन्दृष्टवान्.
Second line after Shata Vatsaram, there is a comma, okay? In the second line.
Sadavastaram.
Vatsaram. Vatsaram.
Vatsaram. Ittu sound varum illaya? Vatsaram.
Vatsaram. Yeah.
Vatsaram. Okay, thank you.
Nivritya Kamalodare, comma, Sukha Nishanna Ekagradihi. So that is the important word there. Ekagradihi means the single focused thing, right? The one-pointed intellect. So it's not like saying that I'm going to go think of multiple things. You have only one focus, which is to get that one answer. So he says, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to look inwards with a single focused mind of what I need. Ekagradihi, comma, Samadhi Balamadhade, comma, Bhavad Anugrahai Kagrahi. That's a one long word, cannot break it. Nivritya Kamalodare Sukha Nishanna Ekagradhihi Samadhi Balamadhade Bhavad Anugrahai Kagrahi.
निवृत्य कमलोदरे सुखनिषण्ण एकाग्रधीः समाधिबलमादधे भवदनुग्रहैकाग्रही निवृत्य कमलोदरे सुखनिषण्ण एकाग्रधीः समाधिबलमादधे भवदनुग्रहैकाग्रही
निवृत्य कमलोदरे सुगनिषन्न एकाग्रधीः समाधिबलमाददे भवदनुग्रहैकाग्रहीः
Just he.
ऐकाग्रही निवृत्य कमलोदरे सुगनिषन्न एकाग्रधीः समाधिबलमाददे भवदनुग्रहैकाग्रही.
Sense of five. Shatena Parivatsaraihi Drida Samadhi Bhando Lasat Prabodha Vishadikritah Sakhalu Padmini Sambhavaha Adrishta Charamadbhutam Tavahi Rupamanta Drisha Vyachashta Parituštadhir Bhujaga Bhoga Bhagashrayam. So like the previous one, the word samadhi comes. Even in this, the word samadhi is coming. So he's entering into a state of samadhi, right? And like we said, all these great rishis, they've been able to get that knowledge because they were always in a state of samadhi. At that time, the knowledge has come to them. So similarly, Brahma, he gets into the state of samadhi. And then when he's meditating, asking for in the previous line, Bhavat Anugrahi Kagrahi. He says, the only thing I want is I want your blessings, so Bhagavan, so I can get the answer. So when he starts going in that form, finally, he's able to see the source. Now, this difference is in Dasakam 5, when he saw the source, or Dasakam 7, when he eventually saw the source, which was the first day, he saw Vaikuntham because there's a first day of Brahma, right? So nothing else is there. So he's seeing the original Vaikuntham. Here, remember, he's within this context of the universe. Like I said, each of these universe has a Mahavishnu from whom this thing keeps coming and going till the end of the life of Brahma. So he's now going to see that Mahavishnu who's part of this world, this universe. So he's seeing that Mahavishnu who is actually lying on Adishesha. So here, that's what starts that in this, you see a big big Adishesha who's got thousands of hoods or white, completely white body. And on that body of Adishesha, he's seeing this Mahavishnu lying there, right? On that. That is the first thing he's actually seeing on the Sheshanaga. So he's beginning to get that darshan. So he's beginning to see the source of where all of this is coming from. And that's going to go to a few stanzas. Let's see what he sees inside there. Shatena Parivatsaraihi. So put a visarga comma there. The next word, dhrida, if you have a ir, that goes away. Dhrida Samadhi bandholasat, put a plus, prabodha vishadikritah, then a comma. So first line after parivatsaraihi, comma, and the rest of the stuff, and then after vishadikritah, comma, sa khalu padmini sambhavah. Shatena parivatsaraihi dृढ समाधि बंदोल्लसत् प्रबोध विशदीकृतः स खलु पद्मिनी संभवः.
शतेन परिवत्सरैः दृढसमाधिबन्धोल्लसत्प्रबोधविशदीकृतः स खलु पद्मिनी सम्भवः शतेन परिवत्सरैः दृढसमाधिबन्धोल्लसत्प्रबोधविशदीकृतः स खलु पद्मिनी सम्भवः
सतेन परिवत्सरैः दृढसमाधि पन्तोल्लसत् प्रबोधविसतीकृतः स खलु पद्मिनी सम्भवः सतेन परिवत्सरैः दृढसमाधि पन्तोल्लसत् प्रबोधविसतीकृतः स खलु पद्मिनी सम्भवः
अदृष्ट चरम अद्भुतम, comma, तवहि रूपम अंतर्दृशा, put a plus. So and then the rest of the line is going to come together. So रूपम अंतर्दृशा व्यचष्ट परितुष्टधीर भुजग भोग भागाश्रयम. So third line after charam adbhutam, comma, then the rest of the third and fourth line is together. अदृष्ट चरम अद्भुतम तव हि रूपमंतर्दृशा व्यचष्ट परितुष्टधीर भुजग भोग भागाश्रयम्.
अदृष्टचरमद्भुतम् तव हि रूपमन्तर्दृशा व्यचष्टपरितुष्टधीर्भुजगभोग भागाश्रयम् अदृष्टचरमद्भुतम् तव हि रूपमन्तर्दृशा व्यचष्टपरितुष्टधीर्भुजगभोग भागाश्रयम्
अदृष्टसरमत्पुदं तव हि रूपमन्तर्दृशा व्यष्टपरितुष्टधीः भुजगभोगभागाश्रयम्.
If you have parituštadihi, then add a ir r to join that sandhi. Okay, that visarga. I replace that visarga.
परिपुष्टधीः
Dihi irunda, just put a ir. Parituštadhir.
परिपुष्टधीर्. Okay, परिपुष्टधीर्.
No, it's paritushta. Tason. Parituštadhir.
Paritushta. Tu, yeah?
Yeah, ta.
Yeah. Parittushtati. My book, they have a visarkam. So,
Yeah, the visarga replace it with r. Ir.
R. Tir. Okay. Atrishta saramatpudam tavahi rupamantartrisa vyasta parittushtadir pujakapoka pahasrayam.
And the fourth line, first word, vyachashta.
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 Vyachashta parittushtadir pujakapoka pahasrayam.
Yeah. That's a 6. Kireetamakutolasate Katakaharakeyurayung Manespuritamekalam Suparivita Pitambaram Kalaya Kusuma Prabham Galatalola Satkaustubham Vapustadayi Bhavahe Kamala Janmane Darshitam. Moment some of these words will come several times in 100 Dashakams, you should realize that he's talking about Bhagavan, because the Pitambaram, Kalaya, Shri Kaustubham, right? All of these words which are coming. So, like we said, in the 7th Dashakam, when he actually saw Bhagavan in Vaikuntham, then he zoomed into Vaikuntham. That happened then. So now all he's seeing the source into which this universe goes in at the end of every night of Brahma and comes back from that thing. So that is what this individual universe is. Now that is what is happening at the end of every day of Brahma. When the whole 100 years of Brahma is over, all of this goes into a different Vishnu. That's like there are multiple levels of Vishnu itself who are there. Not to complicate too much, you don't have to worry. But this is the source, Garbhodaka Shayi Vishnu, who is at the Garbhodaka ocean, which is the unmanifested, this universe. From every day, Brahma's night, everything goes into him, and morning, everything comes back from him. So it is from this Mahavishnu's Nabhi that the lotus flower came and whom Brahma came. So it is everything was going into this Vishnu. So here he's seeing that Mahavishnu who's lying on Adishesha, who has again a Kalaya Kusuma Prabham. He's having the color of that of a blue lily flower, Kalaya flower, the blue lily, who is having, like we said, Galatalolasat Kaustubam, again, usual description of Bhagavan, the way Brahma is seeing, he's having a Kaustubamani, the form of his is shining everywhere. He's just illuminating light everywhere. And, he's looking at that. He's actually Darshitam, Kamala Janmane, the Brahma who's born from the lotus. He's able to see that form of Bhagavan who's lying on Adishesha, who is the Mahavishnu responsible for this particular universe, from whom all of this has come in this day. Kirita Makutolasat. One second, I'm just checking something. I'm not sure if there's a comma. I'm trying to remember from memory if it is comma there or not. Okay, that's fine. We'll continue that. Kirita Makutolasat Kataka Hara Keyura Yung, ing sound, Keyura Yung, put a plus, Mani Spurita Mekalam, comma. So the whole of the first line, and then Mani Spurita Mekalam, comma, Suparivita Pitambaram. Kirita Makutolasat Katakahara Keyurayung Manispurita Mekalam Suparivita Pitambaram.
किरीटमकुटोल्लसत्कटकहारकेयूरयुं मणिस्फुरितमेखलम् सुपरिवीतपीताम्बरम् किरीटमकुटोल्लसत्कटकहारकेयूरयुं मणिस्फुरितमेखलम् सुपरिवीतपीताम्बरम्
किरीटमकुटोल्लसत्कटककारकेयूरयुक् मणिस्फुरितमेकलं स्फरिवीतपीताम्बरम्.
Yeah, and the first line, last word, if you have a yuk, which is ik, ka, if you have that word, that will take a sound of ing, okay, because ma is coming later. So it becomes keyura yung, ing.
Yum sound?
Yung sound. So like, I'm just going to type it, Y-U-N-G, yung.
Yung, okay, keyura yung, okay, ing sound.
Ing sound.
Okay, ing, okay. Kirida Makutolasat Katakakara Keyurayung Manispurita Mekalam Subarivida Pitamparam.
Kalaya Kusuma Prabham, comma, Gala Talolasat Kaustubham, comma, Vapus Tadai Bhavaye, comma, Kamala Janmane Darshitam. Kalaya Kusuma Prabham Galatalolasat Kaustubham Vapus Tadai Bhavaye Kamala Janmane Darshitam.
कलाय कुसुमप्रभं गलतलोल्लसत्कौस्तुभं वपुस्तदयि भावये कमलजन्मने दर्शितम् कलाय कुसुमप्रभं गलतलोल्लसत्कौस्तुभं वपुस्तदयि भावये कमलजन्मने दर्शितम्
Kalaya Kusuma Prabham Kalatalolasat Kaustubam Babustatai Bhavaye Kamala Janmene Tarsidam.
Kamala Janmane.
Kamala Janmane Tarsidam. Kalaya Kusuma Prabham Kalatalolasat Kaustubam Babustatai Bhavaye Kamala Janmane Tarsidam.
Okay, we'll switch the half. Srilata, you can be a student, and Bhuvana Chitra, you can be a student. Stanza 7. Shruti Prakaradarshita Prachura Vaibhava Shripate Hare Jaya Jaya Prabho Padamupaishi Dishtya Drishoho Kurushvadhiyamashu me Bhuvana Nirmitau Karmatham Iti Druhina Varnita Swaguna Bamhima Pahimam. So, like I said, anytime anybody sees Bhagavan, the first thing you get is you get all the knowledge that is required. And we're going to see later on in Dhruva Charitram and all of those things, right? The moment they get a darshan of Bhagavan, all the knowledge automatically comes. So here, when Brahma is looking, he's not only seeing the source, he's not only seeing this Mahavishnu from where everything is coming, he's also seeing how everything went into Mahavishnu and how everything has come out and what has come out and what is the blueprint of what. So essentially he gets all the knowledge that he actually needs, right? So he realizes that it is into this Bhagavan, everything has gone in. He's the one who is actually from whose Nabi everything has come, and what has come out and what is his next steps, what Brahma needs to do. All that knowledge Brahma gets, and when he looks at it, everything becomes obvious to him. And then when he looks at this Mahavishnu, like always, he's just overwhelmed, right, with devotion and in awe of what he's actually seeing. And he realizes that my own efforts to attempt to understand how all these things are happening is very futile, right? It's not going to be possible at all, right? And so what he does is Brahma does a beautiful stuti to Bhagavan, right, where he says that I am absolutely nothing, right? I am existing because you want me to exist, right? I am born completely from you today, right? But when he says born, not completely born, I've come back today, I've woken up today, right? And I'm coming to this day today only because you wanted me to be here. And then you have a certain duty for me, which is to create this universe. That is my duty, right? And all the things, whatever world has come back up at the end of the day, he says, all these are because you wanted all of these things to be there, and now time has come to create. So he essentially is saying that I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm not going to do anything different. And I need your blessings, right? I need your mercy to be able to continue doing this. The reason is some great Mahans are going to come later in Dashakam 10, right? Sorry. So all these great people like Narada and other Maharishis, everybody is going to come because Brahma is the first person who is coming, or first being who's coming, and everybody is going to come after that. So Brahma has to say that if I have to do all these great tasks, I cannot do it without your blessings, right? So I really need your blessings. So Brahma is doing that stuti. And so that is actually something very important, like for all of us, right? Like if we think that we are the ones who are actually doing everything and everything is possible only because of us, then it is going to be futile attempt. It's not going to work, right? So it is coming to the realization sooner that I've been told to do this by Bhagavan. So please give me the strength to carry out whatever you want me to do, which is what Brahma is requesting here. Please give me the strength to carry out what you want me to do. Shruti Prakara Darshita Prachura Vaibhava Shripate, comma. He's calling him as Shripate, husband of Mahalakshmi. Hare Jaya Jaya Prabho, comma. Padamupaishi Dishtya Drishoho. Shrute Prakaradarshita Prachura Vaibhava Shripate. Hare Jaya Jaya Prabho Padamupaishi Dishtya Drishoho.
श्रुति प्रकरदर्शित प्रचुरवैभव श्रीपते हरे जय जय प्रभो पदमुपैषि दिष्ट्यादृशोः श्रुति प्रकरदर्शित प्रचुरवैभव श्रीपते हरे जय जय प्रभो पदमुपैषि दिष्ट्यादृशोः
श्रुति प्रकरदर्शित प्रचुरवैभव श्रीपते हरे जय जय प्रभो पदम उपैषि दिष्टया दृशोः.
A second line, Labona, after Prabhu, there is a comma in the second line. Okay.
After Prabhu, sorry, yeah. Shruti Prakaradharshita Prachura Vaibhava Shripate Hare Jaya Jaya Prabho Padam Upaishi Dishtaya Drishoho.
Kurushva Dhiyamashu me, comma, Bhuvana Nirmitau Karmatham, put a im at the end of that line, Karmatham, comma, Next line, miti becomes iti. Iti druhina varnita swaguna bamhima pahimam. So this is saying that in this, the pahi means protect. So he's saying the reason the protect is coming here is this Brahma is doing that stuti to Bhagavan. He says, this stuti of yours, which Brahma said to you, please use that to bless me also, right? That's the request prayer in this. Kurushvadhiyamashu me bhuvana nirmitau karmatham iti druhina varnita swaguna bamhima pahimam.
कुरुष्व धियमाशु मे भुवननिर्मितो कर्मठाम् इति द्रुहिणवर्णितस्वगुणबह्निमा पाहि माम्. I know there is no comma. I'll try to continue.
Yeah.
कुरुष्व धियमाशु मे भुवननिर्मितो कर्मठाम् इति द्रुहिणवर्णितस्वगुणबह्निमा पाहि माम्.
कुरुष्व धियमाशु मे भुवननिर्मितौ कर्मठाम् इति द्रुहिणवर्णित स्वगुणबंहिमां पाहि माम्.
Third line le nirmitau, bhuvana nirmitau.
Okay. कुरुष्वधियमाशु मे भुवननिर्मितौ कर्मठाम् इति द्रुहिणवर्णत स्वगुणबंहिमा पाहि माम्.
That's it. Labhasva bhuvanatrahi rachana dakshatamakshataam grihana madanugraham kurutapascha bhuyo vidhe bhavatvakila sadhani maicha bhaktiratyutkatet yudirya giramadadhaha mudita cheta samvedhasam. So when Brahma does the stuti, then Bhagavan then blesses him, saying that Brahma, you should not be worried. Don't be anxious about these things or worried about the execution of these things, because what you are requesting from me before, I already know what you are asking. I know the purpose of what you are asking, and this has already been done by you before. Right? In the previous kalpas, you have already executed this. This is not anything new, and I will guide you as part of this. So it's kind of giving him the confidence, right? And then, typically, right, when we, if you kind of think of, because we all work, you think of the layers of the organization. When the board is giving a message to the CEO, the board will just give a one-line message to the CEO. And then as it transcends through the organization, that message keeps getting bigger, because you have to explain to people what that is, right? So anytime Bhagavan tells Brahma something, he only tells it in a short amount of words or short amount of sentences. But for us to understand it, it is going to take us the rest of our life, and we might still not understand it. So the message Bhagavan is telling Brahma here is to say that you'll have to realize that you will have to see me, the Bhagavan, in you and in the entire universe, right? So that's the first one, saying that you have to see me, or I'm already there in you and in every single subatomic particle in the universe. That's number one. But all of those things, including all the universes, are also part of me. Okay, so that is the thing we have to try to understand, because then you'll start wondering, how is it possible if Bhagavan is inside everybody else? How can all of those people also be inside Bhagavan, right? So that is the understanding of the definition right here. So he says that is how it is, right? That is the first two things he says, right? So, and then he says that, and he says only by realizing that particular thing, right? You'll see that no matter all these different shapes and different forms of everything that you're seeing in everybody and everything, at the end of the day, the innermost, as you start going into the root of it, it is all the same. So only by realizing that, you're going to free yourself from all the illusion we have today. So like, when we all dress up in different things, when you're going to office, you're dressing up in a particular way. When you're going on vacation, you're dressing up in a particular way. You might behave in a different way, but at the end of the day, the person behind it is the same, right? But for someone else looking, you look different. So that's what he's trying to say, that, right? That everything looks different. Everything might appear different, but at the end of the day, the core of what is inside everything still remains the same, right? And that's the blessing he says. So he says, with my blessings, you continue, right, the process of creation, and I'm blessing you to do the next steps on this. Labhasva bhuvana trahi rachana dakshatam akshatam, comma, Grihana Madanugraham. So Mad Anugraham, you have my blessings. Madanugraham, comma. Kuru tapascha bhuyo vidhe. लभस्व भुवनत्रयी रचन दक्षतामक्षतां गृहाणमदनुग्रहं कुरु तपश्च भूयो विधे
लभस्व भुवनत्रयी रचनदक्षतामक्षतां गृहाणमदनग्रहं कुरु तपश्च भूयो विधे लभस्व भुवनत्रयी रचनदक्षतामक्षतां गृहाणमदनग्रहं कुरु तपश्च भूयो विधे
लभस्व भुवनत्रयी लभस्व भुवनत्रयी रचनदक्षतामक्षतां गृहाणमदनुग्रहं कुरु तपश्च भूयो विधे लभस्व भुवनत्रयी रचनदक्षतामक्षतां गृहाणमदनुग्रहं कुरु तपश्च भूयो विधे
भवत्वकिल साधनी comma मयि च bhaktirat yutkate and then put a plus at the end of that word so it will come together मयि च bhaktirat yutkate yudirya that word is together Giramadhadhaha. Add a visarga there. You won't have it. Add a visarga and comma. So after third line, Vakila Sadhani, comma. Then the rest of the third line up to Giramadhadaha, comma. Mudita Chetasam Vedasam. Bhavat Vakila Sadhani. Maicha Bhaktirat Yutkate Dyudirya Giramadhadaha. Mudita Chetasam Vedasam.
भवत्वखिल साधनी मयि च भक्तिरत्युत्कटद्युदीर् भवत्वखिल साधनी मयि च भक्तिरत्युत्कटद्गिरिमादधाः मुदितचेतसं वेधसम्.
So that Srilata, that Bhaktirat Yutkatet Yudirya. That it is there, right? So if we join that immediately, then it will land.
Okay. भवत्वखिल साधनी मयि च भक्तिरुत्यत्कटेत् उदीर्य गिरमादधाः उदितचेतसं वेधसम्. My tune is gone. Sorry.
That's okay.
भवत्यखिल भवत्वखिल साधनी मयि च भक्तिरत्युत्कटोति कटोति या कटोत्तद्
Katet Yudirya.
भवत् अखिल साधनी मयि च भक्तिरत्युत्कटेत् उदीर्य गिरमादधात् गिरम् आदधा मुदितचेत् संवेदसम्.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to type something here. Bhaktirat Yutkatet
Bhaktirat. Okay.
I just put it in English, but the point is that word is, it's multiple words combined as sandhi there, right? Bhaktihi utkateti udirya, three different words which are joined, right? So that's why you have to kind of say that together. That's why the Bhaktirat Yutkatet Yudhirya. It's saying as written as one word.
Yeah. Can I tell the last
Yeah,
one?
right. Yeah.
भक्त्यखिल साधनी मयि च भक्तिरत्युत्कटेत् उदीर्य गिरमादधा मद्दितचेतसंवेदसम्.
It's a couple of things. Mudhita Chetasam.
मुदितचेतसंवेदसम्.
And then Giramadhadaha. We added a visarga there.
Visarga.
And you stopped there. Giramadhadaha.
उद्धीर्य गिरमाददाः मुदितचेतसंवेदसम्.
शतं कृततपास्ततः स खलु दिव्यसंवत्सरान् अवाप्य च तपोबलं मतिबलं च पूर्वाधिकम् उदीक्ष्य किल कम्पितं पयसि पङ्कजं वायुना भवद्बलविजृम्भितः पवनपातसीपीतवान्. So sometimes when they explain these things, they explain it in a way we all can understand, right? So the way it is explained here is saying that Brahma is sitting on that lotus, he's back, he's got that knowledge. There's a lot of winds blowing, the lotus is swaying and all of the things, and Brahma brings everything under control by drinking all of those things, right? So the way to understand this is when he comes back, he gets all the knowledge that is actually there. And this, like, you remember, it has just come back from a pralayam, right? It has just come back. So you go back to the forest fire. The forest fire has ended right now. Now the next set of creation has to happen, but things are still a mess, right? The forces of nature are still acting, things, there's still smoke out there, right? All of those things are out there. So how do you build it? You first have to get rid of all the smoke. You still have to clean everything down before you can start rebuilding, right? So that's what Brahma is going to, when he says he's now the lotus is swaying and the wind he's drinking, all this means is he sees there's still a lot of instability which is actually there in nature, and Brahma has to take control of it. So because he's now been blessed by Bhagavan to continue the process of creation, after the previous night's pralayam, the leftovers, things are still unstable, he's gaining control of all of that. So we can actually start creating the beings and everything, because that's going to start coming from the next Dashakam. So he's now gaining control of all the material universe. So he can actually start the actual process of the next set of creation that is happening. Shatam kritata pastatah, comma, Sa khalu divya samvatsaran, put in at the end of that line, samvatsaran, comma. If we have navapya, that becomes avapya cha tapobalam, comma, matibalam cha purvadikam. So he's getting more spiritual power and mental power, so he can now go with the process. Shatam kritatapastatah sa khalu divya samvatsaran अवाप्य च तपोबलं मतिबलं च पूर्वाधिकम्.
शतं कृततपास्ततः स खलु दिव्यसंवत्सरान् अवाप्य च तपोबलं मतिबलं च पूर्वाधिकम्. शतं कृततपास्ततः स खलु दिव्यसंवत्सरान् अवाप्य च तपोबलं मतिबलं च पूर्वाधिकम्.
शतं कृततपास्ततः स खलु दिव्यसंवत्सरान् अवाप्य च तपोबलं मतिबलं च पूर्वाधिकम्. शतं कृततपास्ततः स खलु दिव्यसंवत्सरान् अवाप्य च तपोबलं मतिबलं च पूर्वाधिकम्.
उदीक्ष्य किल कंपितं, पयसि पंकजं वायुना, भवत् बल विजृम्भितः, पवन पातसी पीतवान्. उदीक्ष्य किल कंपितं पयसि पंकजं वायुना भवत् बल विजृम्भितः पवनपातसी पीतवान्.
उदीक्ष्य किल कंपितं पयसि पंकजं वायुना भवद्बलविजृम्भितः पवनपातसी पीतवान्. उदीक्ष्य किल कंपितं पयसि पंकजं वायुना भवद्बलविजृम्भितः पवनपातसी पीतवान्.
उदीक्ष्य किल कंपितं पयसि पंकजं वायुना भवद्भयविसृजितः पवनपातसी पीतवान्.
The fourth line, भवत् बल विजृम्भितः.
विजृम्भितः. उदीक्ष्य किल कंपितं पयसि पंकजं वायुना भवद्भलविजृम्भितः पवनपातसी पीतवान्.
तवैव कृपया पुनः सरसिजेन तेनैव सह प्रकल्प्य भुवनत्रयीं प्रववृते प्रजानिर्मितौ तथाभिध कृपाभरो गुरुमरुत्पुराधीश्वर त्वमाशु परिपाहि मां गुरुदयोक्षितैरीक्षितैः. So with this, then Brahma then starts the process, right? So like the thing you can think of is when you have a small child, right? And the child wants to do a puzzle. Let's say you're a 4-year-old or 5-year-old who wants to do a puzzle. You give a small puzzle, you give the puzzle, and then you kind of arrange the pieces so it is easy for that person to put it together, because the child doesn't know how to create a puzzle, or they must have some knowledge. It could be anything, but you help, you guide it, right? But when the child finishes the puzzle, the child thinks, I did the puzzle. But a child doesn't realize that you, as a parent, guided the child, you gave it what it is capable of, and then you prodded it in the right direction, right? So the reason I'm saying that is when Brahma is going to create everything that is going to be there, every single being that is there in this 14 worlds came from Brahma. He is responsible for all of that creation. Later on, when people do the stuti to Brahma, saying that Brahma, you are the creator, right? I'm worshipping you because everybody you was created by you. Brahma at least is intelligent enough to say, you all think I am the creator, but I was given all the tools, right? It is like the farmer, right? The farmer has to get the seeds from somewhere. He has to get the seeds from Monsanto or someplace. So he goes, buys the seeds from Menards. Then the farmer has to sprinkle the seeds. Then he has to wait for the rain to come. He has to wait for the sun to come. And he has to wait for the chemical reactions to happen for the fertilizer plants to come. Now, what the farmer will claim is, I am responsible for creating all of these things. I am responsible for growing the vegetables. But what did the farmer really do? The farmer really went and purchased the seeds and he sprinkled it. And then nature took its process to create the fruits and vegetables, right? That's the difference here. That's exactly what Brahma is doing. He's saying that you have given me the seeds of creation. All I am doing is I'm like a farmer. I'm going and sprinkling it everywhere. And then you then give the energy. You then create the structure for the universe to get created. So with that, he starts the process from. And the next Dashakam says, oh, Guru Arpa, this way you have helped Brahma so much in all these things. Please also have compassion on me and eradicate all the ailments I have. Tavaiva kripaya punaha is goes away, visarga comma, punaha. Sarasijena tenaiva saha, comma. Prakalpya bhuvanatrayim, comma. Prabhavrite praja nirmitau. Praja nirmitau means creating the various beings. तवैव कृपया पुनः सरसिजेन तेनैव सह प्रकल्प्य भुवनत्रयीं प्रववृते प्रजानिर्मितौ.
तवैव कृपया पुनः सरसिजेन तेनैव सह प्रकल्प्य भुवनत्रयीं प्रववृते प्रजानिर्मितौ. तवैव कृपया पुनः सरसिजेन तेनैव सह प्रकल्प्य भुवनत्रयीं प्रववृते प्रजानिर्मितौ.
तवैव कृपया पुनः सरसिजेन तेनैव सह प्रकल्प्य भुवनत्रयीं प्रववृते प्रजानिर्मितौ. तवैव कृपया पुनः सरसिजेन तेनैव सह प्रकल्प्य भुवनत्रयीं प्रववृते प्रजानिर्मितौ.
On the second line, Bhuvanatrayim.
प्रकल्प्य भुवनत्रयीं प्रववृते प्रजानिर्मितौ.
तथा विध कृपाभरो, गुरु मरुत् पुराधीश्वर, त्वमाशु परिपाहि मां, Guru Dayokshitair, the R, we are breaking it, Guru Dayokshitair Ikshitaihi. Tatha Vidha Kripa Bharo Guru Marutpuradhishwara Twamashu Paripahi Mam Guru Dayokshitair Ikshitaihi.
तथाविध कृपाभरो गुरुमरुपुराधीश्वर त्वमाशु परिपाहि मां गुरुदयोक्षितैरीक्षितैः. तथाविध कृपाभरो गुरुमरुपुराधीश्वर त्वमाशु परिपाहि मां गुरुदयोक्षितैरीक्षितैः.
तथाविध कृपाभरो गुरुमरुत्पुराधीश्वरः गुरुमरुत्पुराधीश्वर त्वम् आशु परिपाहि मां गुरुदयोक्तीक्षितैरीक्षितैः
Last word,
तथा
Guru Dayokshitair Ikshitaihi.
Okay. गुरुदयोक्षितैरीक्षितैः तथाविधकृपाभरो गुरुमरुत्पुराधीश्वर त्वम् आशु परिपाहि मां गुरुदयोक्षितैरीक्षितैः.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, go to Dasakam 10. So from now, things become a little bit more easier to understand. It's not much conceptual stuff, but things which you can relate to easily. Stanza 1. Vaikunthavardita balota bhavat prasadhat ambojayo nirasujat kila jiva dehan stasnoni bhuruhamayani tatatiras jatim manushya nivahana pideva bhedan. So he says, so the first, like I said, the first set of creation which happened was called a sarga, which Bhagavan created and then gave it to Brahma. Then the next set of things which Brahma creates is called as visarga. So in that, Brahma creates everything that is there in these 14 worlds. So he and no, when I'm saying he creates, he's not creating it right now. He's going to create all these things, but they're giving in the start initially a description of everything that he creates. So for example, he first creates, he creates everything that doesn't move. So all the vegetation. Now, even this vegetation that is actually there, they are living. They all have, they have some level of consciousness in them as well, right? Because that's the reason they are all able to grow and everything. They can even potentially reproduce. So all these things which cannot move, Brahma creates. But for example, when you think of the vegetation, the food and the energy in those goes from bottom to top. So the various beings he creates, it also direction on the direction of the flow. Because it goes from bottom to top, they all are filled with ignorance. They don't have the knowledge like we all have, right? Which means they have some level of consciousness, but they do not have any of the awareness that animals have or humans have, etc. They can't think on their own. They can't move. They can't react, all of those things. That's the seventh set of creation, which is all the vegetation. Then he creates lower species of lives, not necessarily in that order, but I'm just saying there are lower species of life that gets created, and there are different types. Now, these species, the food is going from side to side. The consumption of food happens in one end, and the food energy is going from left to right or so on in that direction. Now, these also have consciousness, but the level of consciousness is very different. They have basic things. Some of them are even low. Some can only recognize things by smell. Some can only recognize things by touch. Some can only recognize things by sound, right? And they react to the world very differently because their primary purpose is to survival, right? So their life is primarily guided by, what is required to survive. And then you have the creation of all the different types of humans who are there. Now, in the humans case, the food goes from top to bottom. Like we consume the top and the food goes to the bottom, right? And the humans are primarily driven by Rajoguna, which is primarily driven by desire and passion and all of that. Then he also creates all the different demigods who exist all over. So these are the Gandharvas, the Apsaras, the Yakshas, the Siddhas, Vidyadharas. There are multiple types of demigods. So all of those things are created by Brahma, and the way it happens is those souls which go into each of these things existed in Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and when they all come, he has to give them a body to get into, right? So every insect and every creature that is there also has a soul, and those all are physical bodies that the soul has to get into. So what Brahma is doing is he's creating all of those bodies and all those things available, but the souls all came at when the bud came, the lotus bud we talked about, it had the souls of everybody who had gone in, everybody whose karma is continuing. So they're all getting born again, and according to their karma, they all take different levels of birth, different species into which they get birth. But Brahma is creating all the bodies into which people can actually take birth. People, I mean, every being can get birth into. He doesn't create it now, but he's just saying he's going to create all that. Vaikuntha Vardita Balota Bhavat Prasadat. Put a it at the end of that line, comma. If you have Dambo, that becomes Ambo. Ambo Jayo Nirasrijat kila jivadehan stasnuni bhuruhamayani tata tirasham, put a plus, jatim manushya nivahanapi deva bhedan. वैकुण्ठवर्धितबलोत भवत्प्रसादात् अम्भोजयो निरसृजत् किल जीवदेहान् स्तास्नूनि भूरुहमयानि तथा तिरश्चां जातिं मनुष्यनिवहानपि देवभेदान्.
वैकुण्ठवर्धितबलोथ भवत्प्रसादात् अम्भोजयोनिरसृजत् किल जीवदेहान् स्तास्नूनि भूरुहमयानि तथा तिरश्चाज्जातिर्मनुष्यनिवहानपि देवभेदान्.
Let's do the fourth line, first word. If you have jatir, can you change it to jatim? Jatim manushya.
Jatim Manusha. Yeah, it was Ra. Okay. Vaikuntavarddita balodha bhavat prasadat ambojayonirasrujat kila jiva dehan stasnoni bhuruhamayani tathatiraschan jatim manushya nivahanapi deva bedhan.
वैकुण्ठवदीर्थ भवत्प्रसादात् अम्बोजयोनिसृजं किल जीवदेहान् स्तास्तूनि भूरुहमयानि तथा तिरश्चां जातिं मनुष्य निवहानपि देहभेदान्.
Second line, ambojayo nirasrijat.
Okay. वैकुण्ठवदीर्थ भवत्प्रसादात् अम्बोजयोनिस् योनि அந்த யோனிக்கு அப்புறம் பிரிக்கணுமா?
அது வந்து you cannot break it like that, so you kind of have to say the whole word. Ambojayo nirasrijat.
अम्बोजयोनिरसृज किल जीवदेहान् स्तास्तूनि भूरुहमयानि तथा तिरश्चां जातिं मनुष्य निवहानपि देहभेदान्.
You can say
ஒரே ஒரு டவுட்டுங்க.
சொல்லுங்க.
அந்த ஜாத்திம் மனுஷ்ய நிவஹான்க்கு அப்புறம் பிரேக் இருக்கா இல்ல
the whole that's together, the two lines are together continuously. Okay.
Yeah.
Answer 2. मिथ्याग्रहास्मि मतिराग विकोप भीतिः अज्ञानवृत्तिमिति पञ्चविधां सृष्ट्वा उद्दाम तामस पदार्थ विधानदूनः तेने त्वदीय चरण स्मरणं विशुद्ध्यै. So before he starts creating the physical beings which have forms, right? He has to create the conditions. You see, because if you're going to build something, if you're going to build a society, you have to first define the framework of how the society has to exist, right? If every being who is actually getting born, like we said in Dasakam 5, when we spoke about the Mahat, which is a supreme consciousness, we spoke about the layer of Ahankaram, which is around it. We spoke about the Tanmatram and then Panchabhutam. We spoke about the various layers. If everybody already has that realization, then there is no concept of creation, because the moment you are born, even if you're born, you immediately realize, I know who I am, right? You have that knowledge. That means you are now immediately liberated. So there's no concept of life. There's no purpose for the world to exist, right? So he has to create the framework through which people will get misguided. So think of it as a game. So he has to create, one of the first framework he creates is the concept of ignorance, right? So what he does is, he says that the ignorance here is each of us not knowing what our true identity is. We all don't know who we truly are, right? The true soul, we've lost that identity. So that is the first thing he creates, which is the concept. It's the 5 things, ajnana vritti, it says, the 5 ignorance that he creates. First is called as a tamas, which is an ignorance of not knowing who the true identity is. The second is called as moham, which is an illusion. So the illusion, because you don't know who the true identity is, you have an illusion that you are this body, that I am this body, I am a male, I have these 2 hands, I have this leg, this is a structure, I am this, right? That is the second creation, which is the concept of moham. The third one, which comes after that, is mahamoham. Because I think I am this, everything which is related to me, I have a sense of possessiveness. And you all can contemplate on it later after the class. You go see what do you like, right? Or who do you like? You will see that the only people you like are people who are somehow connected to you. And the things you like are things which are connected to you. Because the way it is built is so clear and structured, because you don't know who you are, and you think you are on the second layer of moham illusion of saying, I am this, everything and everyone who's connected to you, you like the most. That is because you like you the most, actually. That is why everything and everybody connected to you, you like them a lot, right? That is called as Mahamoham. So it's the second, third level of sense of possessiveness that you have, because they are all connected to you. Some other person is struggling, you don't get as much impacted as when your family is struggling, because you think they are all connected to you. That's the third one, Mahamoham. The fourth one is called as Thamishram, which is anger. So which means when your possessions gets disrupted, whether it be your family or whether it be your things get disrupted, you get angry because your circle is getting disrupted. That is called as Thamishram, which is anger. And then there is something called as the Andha Thamishram, which is like extreme level of anger. Anyway, so he creates all these frameworks into which people and beings are getting stuck into. And only way to come out of this getting stuck is to realize to go back, right? To go back in a reverse order, and then finally to get to the first step of realizing that who you truly are. Anyway, so Brahma creates the framework, but then he's very upset, right? He's saying, I've created this framework because he's forced into this creation. Otherwise the beings are not going to exist. So he gets a little upset about it. So he's also going to give the solutions to get out of it. Mithya grahasmi mathi. One long word. Mithya grahasmi mathi raga vikopa bhitihi visarga comma bhitihi. Next line, the rajnana becomes ajnana. Ajnana vrittimiti pancha vidham sa srishtva. The 5 types, which is what I said. Pancha vidham sa srishtva. Uddama tamasa padartha vidhana dunah visarga comma. Next line is goes away if you have it. Tene tvadiya charana smaranam vishuddhyai. Mityagrahasmi matiraga vikopa bhitihi ajnana vrittimiti pancha vidham sasrishtva uddama tamasa padartha vidhana dunah tene tvadiya charana smaranam vishuddhyai.
मिथ्याग्रहास्मि मतिरागविकोपभीतिः अज्ञानवृत्तिमिति पञ्चविधां ससृष्ट्वा उद्दामतामसपदार्थविधानधूनः तेने त्वदीयचरणस्मरणं विशुद्ध्यै मिथ्याग्रहास्मि मतिरागविकोपभीतिः अज्ञानवृत्तिमिति पञ्चविधां ससृष्ट्वा उद्धामतामस पदार्थविधानदूनः तेने त्वदीयचरणस्मरणं विशुद्ध्यै
मिथ्याग्रहास्मिति यास्मिति मतिरागविकोपभीतिः अज्ञानवृत्तिम् इति पञ्चविधां ससृष्ट्वा उद्दामतामसपदार्थविधानदूनः तेन त्वदीयचरणस्मरणं विशुद्ध्यै मिथ्याग्रह अस्मि मतिरागविकोपभीतिः अज्ञानवृत्तिम् इति पञ्चविधां सृष्ट्वा उद्दामतामसपदार्थविधानदूनः तेने त्वदीयचरणं स्मरणं विशुद्ध्यै
चरण स्मरणं विशुद्ध्यै.
तेने चरणस्मरणं विशुद्ध्यै.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Stop here. The next stanza literally is the first being who is going to come. We'll see who it is in the next class. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadebhyam निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone.
Rajesh Garu, we finished 100 shlokas today.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. 110 runs.
Yes, yeah.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Rajesh
Thank
Garu.
you, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.